Let's talk about shadow work. Actually, what I really want to talk about is what I call shadow confrontation. Shadow work is becoming popular for those on a path of healing and personal development. Popularized by the psychoanalyst Carl Jung, it is the process of becoming aware of one's own repressed or unknown parts of self. It is typically restricted to the realms of the mind, and we typically treat it, as the name implies, as work. And how do we treat work? We schedule it, like a dentist appointment. But did you know that you have shadow parts of you that are fully formed entities that have split off beyond your own mind?
Answer me, why do people think that I'm you?
I think you know.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. Why would anyone possibly confuse you with me?
Because we're the same person.
And guess what? They don't give a shit about your schedule. They don't care if it's Christmas morning, if your kids are misbehaving, or if it's in the middle of the night and you're trying to sleep. You likely have shadow parts existing in your periphery, trying to get your attention in any which way possible, oftentimes through intense confrontation. So could those instances that many describe as experiencing a spiritual attack just be your own shadow aspects? Let me explain a few personal examples of shadow confrontations that I've had and how one can become aware of and integrate one's shadow aspects.
And here we go.
My first instance is what I consider the deepest part of my dark night of the soul, following an intense trigger event for my spiritual awakening. I had a few strange instances while I was sleeping at night where I literally felt like something was touching my physical body, to where one night it really ramped up while I was sleeping one night and I literally felt an entity touch my genitals. That moment freaked me out beyond belief. I was convinced there was a demon in my home. For about the next month, I experienced absolutely terrifying experiences while I was sleeping. I would see intense slideshows of really dark, violent imagery just blipping across my mind in my dream space. And then one time I saw this dark entity approach me in this dream to where all I could see in my entire visual screen were these two giant demon eyes. And off the side of the screen, I could see it like almost shoving an arm at me to where it looked like it was stabbing me and trying to kill me. After about a month of this, I realized whatever entity is terrorizing me is just me. There is only one infinite consciousness that we're all a fractal of. So I realized this entity and I are part of that same entity of this infinite consciousness. So why am I afraid of myself? Upon making that internal shift, the terror disappeared and I never experienced it to that degree ever again. About a year later, in spring of 2024, I had another experience where I felt as if something tranquilized me while I was sleeping, while I was away on a trip in someone else's home. I awoke in the middle of the night and began to see a vision in my mind's eye of a hooded man standing in front of me. This man took his hood off and revealed himself to me. And who was standing there? It was me. At this moment, I was hit with a full body knowing that this entity standing right there in front of me was my own shadow aspect that I had banished from myself due to its dark nature. I was instantly overcome with the most horrendous sadness I have ever felt at the prospect that I did this to myself. I chose to separate myself from another aspect of myself. I literally broke down sobbing and felt the horrendous pain of separation for what felt like eons of time. I compulsively apologized to this part of myself. And a few days later, upon meditating upon this experience, I consciously welcomed this part back home within me. And one last example, another time while I was sleeping, I had what felt like a literal finger flick me in my right arm. I had no idea what that was. And then just a couple months ago, yet again while sleeping, I had what felt like a literal finger pressed down on the right side of my abdomen. And I was sleeping deep in a dream and was like, oh, what? Like trying to shake myself awake because I could tell something was pressurizing me on my body. That was quite a shocking experience that I had to shake myself awake from. I woke confused at first and then realized, wait a minute, this is another shadow aspect of me trying to get my attention. The energy around me started to feel weird and creepy. And that's when I realized, wait a minute, I have a part of me that's weird and creepy. I began seeing in my mind's eye some form of white blob of energy just kind of hovering over me, feeling really awkward. On the spot, I acknowledged it for what it was and welcomed it back home within me. As I felt into it a little bit more, this part started to remind me of the character Napoleon Dynamite.
What are you gonna do today, Napoleon?
Whatever I feel like I want to do. Gosh!
This character is so weird and awkward, but he doesn't know that he's weird and awkward. And because of this, he doesn't pay any attention to what other people think of him. And at this point in my life, when I had this experience, I started feeling that it's time for me to start becoming more public and sharing some of my experiences out on social media. And I started to realize, wait a minute, these traits are actually really useful. Like, I could use this type of mentality to not care or pay attention to what other people are thinking of me. I thanked this part of me for coming back at just the right time because I could really use this carefree mentality.
Well, I have all your equipment in my locker. You should probably come get it because I can't fit my nunchucks in there anymore.
So let's break these down. As wild as these scenarios are, I realized there are really only two primary steps in terms of integrating one's shadow aspects. Step one is awareness. Sounds simple, right? Yet you can see from my first example how challenging it can be to realize that something that's causing intense havoc in your life is actually just a part of you. I hope, if nothing else, this video helps to get you to think of this question. Whenever you feel like there might be a strange energy in your home, or you've had an inexplicable accident, or perhaps you've manifested an inexplicable random nagging injury, is this just me? In fact, this can almost be the entire process. Upon meditating on my second shadow confrontation experience, it reminded me I should really go back and meditate on my first shadow confrontation experience, the one where I was being terrorized for a month. I decided to try to intentionally connect with that part for the first time 2 years after the fact. What I felt this part tell me was that just the fact that I even acknowledged its existence, it felt safe enough to stop terrorizing me. It didn't even need me to accept it, let alone love it. It just needed me to acknowledge it. Step two for more pronounced integration is acceptance. The second confrontation experience I had, where I learned that I had a shadow aspect of myself that I had banished, almost had steps 1 and 2 occur simultaneously, which allowed for a much quicker integration process. Right on the spot, I just knew who this part was and its backstory. So I didn't even have much choice to accept it or not. But there is always the choice for denial. Accepting it as it was presented to me was literally the most emotionally painful thing I have ever experienced. But it allowed for the fastest integration compared to if I tried to avoid what was happening. Now I sense this part as a mature protector part and providing even a little bit of dark humor.
Why so serious?
The last step for the most wholesome integration possible is to love and accept this part of you. A truly whole individual operates from the seat of their true self, calling upon the various parts of themselves whenever needed. Rather than the parts controlling you, you are the conductor of the orchestra, calling upon each individual part whenever a certain situation deems it so. You definitely can't call a part of yourself forward if you are unaware of it, or if you don't accept it for who it is. But acknowledging what this part of you can bring to the table in terms of how it can support you will get you excited to want to leverage this aspect of yourself in almost a self-reinforcing cycle. My first 2 shadow confrontations showed me the benefits of welcoming these aspects into my being, to the point where, once I had this third shadow confrontation experience, I went through the entire process, steps 1, 2, and 3, in about 15 minutes, and I was genuinely grateful for it to be with me again. Then I was like, well, who else is out there? Like, what other shadow aspects of myself are still not yet home within me? Please come home now so I can take advantage of all of your abilities and personality traits that I could use in my life going forward. I'll make one little side note. I sense quite a few people make the claim that they or people that they know are subject to what they call frequent spiritual attacks. I am fully aware that such things do in fact happen. But leaning on this notion too much can allow for the abdication of responsibility and the giving away of one's power. It can also be a byproduct of feeling self-important, that they are so unique and powerful that these dark entities are attacking them for it. But using my own experiences as an example, 3 out of 3 of these experiences would have looked from an untrained eye that I was being attacked. Yet 100% of these experiences were just my own shadow aspects. So I offer the same possibility to those who feel they are the subject of spiritual attacks. Is it just you? It is an alluring thought to think that these instances couldn't happen to me, or I don't have parts of me that are terrifying or creepy, because I am of the light. But such a thought feeds only your ego and the very darkness one claims to oppose. You are in fact being called to use that light of yours and shine it on these very aspects. Otherwise, they fester in the shadows. The greater the light, the greater the shadow. Taking these steps to integrate one's shadow into oneself will ultimately yield even greater levels of light. I hope this provides some useful guidance if you ever find yourself in similar situations, but you can rest easy knowing that these entities coming into your awareness are just you. They just want your attention, and unfortunately, we're so distracted or avoidant that they feel they need to resort to such drastic confrontations. For whatever reason, your soul may have been splintered into various parts. And even if this process is solely confined to your psychological parts, you can know that it can be a very gratifying experience becoming more whole unto yourself.
For years, I've been treating the Hulk like he's some kind of disease, something to get rid of. But then I start looking at him as the cure. I put the brains and the brawn together. And now look at me, best of both worlds.
It doesn't need to take a full month of terror, but instead can happen in a brief period of harmonious unification.
Do you feel me?
What the hell are you?
We are Venom.